Dan Clark of Brain FM. I'm so excited to have you here today on the Nicole Holland Show. I've been using your app for a little while, and it's just so much fun. And you're so much fun. You're an amazing person. And so I'm really happy to bring you here to talk about Brain FM and how it can help business owners and entrepreneurs to be more something. And so we'll get into that. And before we do you just want to give us a quick overview of what is Brain FM?
Sure. So super happy to be here. What Brain FM, what we do is we make functional music to help you focus, relax, and sleep better. And it's all backed by scientific research, evidence, and testing.
Okay, that was a very, very quick.
That's it, right? So
Yeah.
basically what we're trying to do is everyone uses music to change their mental state, right? If you go to the gym, it's a very good example of everyone having their headphones, their AirPods in, and they're just jamming out. And what we're trying to do is use the same mechanics that people have been using music for, but really improving it with big data, science, and then research to back it up. So for example, on our Focus product, we actually have a grant from the government to help us validate that we can compete with ADHD and ADD medications. And we use the same technology in our medical side of the business, in our consumer side, that is applicable to anyone that wants to start trying it out.
Awesome. And so what are those different states? We've got, so you mentioned focus for ADD, ADHD. Okay, so let me try and recap this real quick.
Sure.
Or not recap, but just rephrase something. So Brain FM, it's an app, so you can have it on your phone. You can also use it on the desktop. It's music, but it's special music that you've used science to put together to help people change their state. So if they're needing to focus, if they're needing to sleep or relax, if they're needing to, I'm trying to think of the other one.
Yeah, sure. So I'll jump in. So
Okay.
what we think about it is kind of like a triangle. So it's focus, relax, and sleep. And then we have other mental states that bridge from that. So in relax, we also have meditation, for example. In sleep, we have napping. In our focus one on the top, we have focus primarily for creative or writing or getting through like motivational work. But we're also working on workout music. It's not available yet, but that's something we're excited about. And really, what we're doing in all of the categories is more of a shortcut to what you already can do. So while it does help with people that do have ADHD and ADD, it actually helps everyone. And it's more viewed as a +1 product that helps you shortcut to what you're trying to get. So I'm going to use focus for this example, but basically everyone has had those times where they are have a project due tomorrow. It's 2 a.m. and you've had 2 cups of coffee. And for some reason you hit this point where you feel like you can fly. And it's funny because like before I got involved in Brain FM, I used to start my days at 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. just to optimize for that schedule. And what we're doing with with our focus music here is that we're trying to get you there in 10 to 15 minutes when you use our music at any time of day. So what's kind of a small, quick story is I actually didn't found the company. But I came across it when it first started. And that was the feeling when I said, hey, I don't have to work at 10 p.m. to optimize this. I can get into this zone anytime I want on demand. And then as long as you use the music, you stay there. Does that make sense?
It does. And it probably makes more sense to me because I am a user. So I just brought this up too on my iPhone. So I don't know if you guys can see that. If you're tuning in on the audio, on the podcast, you can, of course, come over to the Nicole Holland Show. And we are actually live on video. Live. We're not live. We're recording on video. So I think Dan's also going to, at some point, show us some really neat stuff. But just to show, this is what it looks like on the app. And then you can check on, you can click on focus. Oh, it's just gone automatically to this. But, oh, can you hear this? This is so good. Can you hear it, Dan?
A little bit.
Not so much. But then there's like this more music. and then you have all these different choices. So it's really cool. And now I have to shut it off. So stop. Um, so I just wanted to like kind of show the actual app, and then there's all the choices of the sounds. So yeah, I don't know, like what do you want to talk about first? Because I use it all the time for sleep. Like I can't not
Okay.
use it. In fact, we're in a group together, and there's a Facebook group, and somebody had mentioned to you about am I going to get addicted to this now? And I chimed in, yes. Like I can't, I find really I've gotten to a point where this will help me fall asleep pretty quickly. And I tend to be an insomniac. So this will get me to bed really quickly. And on the days that I don't have it, it doesn't happen. And it's fun too, because we had like a lot of rain last night. So I just picked out the rain sleep tune. What do we call these? The track
Session, song.
session.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's so cool. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy to chat about anything. So sleep is cool. Sleep. So I mean, really, before we dive into directly on sleep and some of the things that we're doing, I think first is maybe explaining a little bit more on how we're doing it and why it works. And it's really cool because part of it is science, and part of it is the things that we're learning about the brain just now, and a lot of it's related to evolutionary things. So for example, I'll use focus and sleep in this metaphor, but basically 20,000 years ago, distractions kept us alive, right? Because a rustle in a bush was a distraction event, and that was a tiger coming out to eat you. So you had to be able to recognize those patterns and be able to react to them. Nowadays, when we're sitting in the office and we're trying to do work, and it's a text message from our girlfriend or our wife or some employee or something like that, it's not a life or death situation, but because we're not faced with those every day, it's magnified. I think there's a famous thing, or a lot of people have probably heard, like, did I leave the iron on? And that's a good example, because what happens is we have nothing else to worry about. So we start worrying about other things. And it's similar in sleep. So sleep, if I say your name, if I say, hey, Nicole, when you're sleeping, you're going to wake up. Same thing for distractions and for reasons like that. And that directly relates to actually how predators hunt at night. So we would have to be able to, defend ourselves and understand and all that stuff. And what's interesting is when it rains out, we sleep better. Most people will sleep better in the rain. It's because most predators don't hunt in the rain. So there's these things underlying our evolutionary principles that are baked into almost every human. And then we start using science to stack on top of that. So we actually have different measurements of the brain on fMRI, EEG, and we use video game testing actually to compile different results. And what we do is we kind of, so we have an AI, and we basically take all of that data of neural imaging, we put it into the AI, and we say, this is the effect that we want to encourage an individual to have when they're listening to our music. So we basically say, first, unlike traditional music, let's design what this is for, the activity, and then create music around that, where a lot of music is created just to be catchy, so you play it all the time. So we're actually starting from a completely different starting point. And then through those brain protocols, we build the structure like a skyscraper. And then really we say, okay, what is the soundscape that we want to have? And if you look in the genre section, as Nicole mentioned, you'll find that we basically have all these different kinds of genres, but it's actually all the same, similar brain protocols, and we're making different facades of that skyscraper.
that's so awesome. Thank you for explaining that. And also, you have a whole bunch of science that is available to people. So I'm going to link that up on the show notes page as well at the NicoleHollandshow.com, so that if anybody's interested really in beyond this conversation and seeing the brain scans you have in there and stuff like that, right? Then they can also download that. So what else have you got? I don't even know what to ask you from here. I'm like the worst host in the world, because I'm like, okay, wait, keep going. Science is like new, it's exciting, and technology
Yeah.
and how you're marrying it all.
Hmm.
And I love that you start with the end in mind, because as business owners, that's what we have to do all the time, right? Is we start with
Yep.
the end in mind. What results do we want to get? And so for you to be able to, and for Brain FM, for your team to be able to start with the results you want and then create the everything around that, and it just makes it for the user such an enjoyable experience because we don't have to think about that. We get the results without actually considering, okay, what do I need to do in order to have this result? So we just
Hmm. Well, I think the interesting thing, well, so I think let's talk about some science, we'll get into it, and then let's talk about applications, because as business owners all here, I think it's fun to know the science works and it's legitimate, but it's also fun to be like, how can this make me better? So I think the cool thing that you mentioned was we are science. We're science first. There's a lot of people that have been saying that they can use sound to enhance people's mental states for a really long time and sustain. So there's binaural beats, there's isochronic tones, and this is really like pop science left over from the 70s. It's been disproven on multiple peer-reviewed studies, but it still exists. It's kind of like subliminal messaging. That also doesn't exist either. It's been disproven a bunch of times, but people believe it because it's kind of in the around. I think it's important because what we're doing is we're redefining what music is capable of. And there's a clear difference between going on YouTube and listening to music and going on, Spotify and listening to the focus music, and then listening to our music that is every single song is tracked by science. So I do have, I can share the science PDF, and I know some people can't see it now, but you can go on to your website and check a look. But basically, again, we're creating these functional music that is optimized first to induce behaviors in people and achieve desired mental states. So again, it's kind of like a balloon that's filled with air and it's going to float down. And what we're doing is we're kind of just like pushing it up gently and nudging you in the direction. So I'll do a quick overview, but basically a lot of this is basically just plain text so anyone can read and say, this is how we're building our focus music. And there's a lot of things on how we shape the brain activity. We have different kinds of frequencies and graphs on the modulation rates that we do and kind of the secret sauce that we have. And we have a lot of brain scans in here, like you were saying, Nicole, about like, what do we look like compared to a Spotify track? This red means good, blue means bad, And we kind of really want to make sure that we're giving people the opportunity to see the science, see why it would matter, and then make a decision for themselves. When we, so we're, as I mentioned, we're going through, we have grants from the government to help us validate that we can compete. And what we're trying to do is actually not even replace all these different kinds of medications. We're trying to give someone another option. So you can take medications, you can not take medications, you can take a bunch of coffee, or you can add Brain FM to the mix. 100%, 50%, whatever makes sense for you. And what's interesting is that some people, they have no problem focusing whatsoever, but they have challenge sleeping. And we can help fill that gap and help people live better lives, and vice versa in case. I get a lot of very specific emails from people that say, hey, I've been in Afghanistan 30 years ago, I have PTSD, and I'm crying writing this email because I've never been able to fall asleep. So we're helping the people that have a lot of challenges, and then people like yourself, Nicole, that just need like maybe a shortcut to get there. And it's something that, again, we want to just be completely validated and explain like, hey, this is how it is. It's not magic. This is how science works, and keep improving the product for everyone as we go.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, both the visual for those of us watching the video and also just the information that you shared is really powerful. And I love that you're getting those emails and you're getting that feedback. And I have been, testing and playing with it and seeing how it can help me over the last months. And yeah, for me, like the sleep, I'm not that I can't, I'm sure at some point I'll be able to fall asleep, but this helps me get there so much faster. Actually, some days I don't sleep, to be honest. There's, when there's a lot going on and places to go and everything. But I know that when I need to like conk out, all I have to do is hit this. Focus for me, excuse me, I live in a very peaceful household. So I work a lot in my quiet space, and I don't really need much help focusing. I'm hyper focused sometimes. But sometimes I'm not. Some days I'm like distracted. And in that case, I use the focus, and it's so helpful. And actually, what's I love doing, just application wise, is if I'm doing for the focus, I will actually stream it to my television and play it through the television speakers. I know you're supposed to do it here, but that's something that just helps me, and like I can totally feel it when my body just kind of goes like there's no more distraction. It's just like, and it's so background. And yeah, and then even just before our interview, to be honest with you, because this is a studio day for me, so I'm back to back interviews, I sat down with the meditate, because that's something that I don't do well on my own, and so that helped me just kind of transition. So yeah, just thought I'd share
Yeah,
that
I'm
as well.
glad you brought that up. So it's really, I think about it again as a tool that anyone can use in any capacity they need. And some people, they need sleep more than focus or whatever. And that's great. Some people use this for naps. Some people only use this when they need to sleep and they can't fall asleep in 20 minutes. So it's very interesting because a lot of companies, they're like, hey, we wouldn't need you to use the app every day. And again, we're just more of a guiding hand and being a resource when you need it. It does help when you build a habit though. So some people, what I like to recommend and what I do personally myself is I actually do 90-minute work segments for focus. So what I do is I say, okay, this is something I have to accomplish. I write down the goal on a piece of paper somewhere or write it down in the notes. And then I press play and we go. And you can actually see in the new version of our app that's live now is you'll actually see intention based. So you'll say, I want to focus on, it shows the activity and then how long you want to do it. And it's all designed that way to just basically make you focus, tunnel in until that activity is done, and then, move on to your next task. Some people do that every day. Some people do it, 3 times a week. And that's the way, as long as you have this kind of blocked out schedule, it's really just prioritizing, what you need.
That's so helpful. Okay, cool. So what's next? I'm just going to let you flow.
Sure. So next is try it out. We give 5 free sessions for everyone to know that it works for them before paying. So go online, brain.fm. We also have app stores as well on iOS and Android. Download it and give it a shot. I usually tell people to try our focus product out first because it's something that you can feel in 20 minutes. So 90 minutes, set an intention, write something down, put the headphones on, at least for your first session, and start playing it. What's going to happen is you should treat it like background noise. So don't, hey, what's going on? Am I focused yet? Just work like you normally would. And at the end of that 90-minute segment, you'll wake up or come out of it and you'll realize like, oh, wow, look at all the work I did. And then, sleep and meditation, other applications, experiment on your own. And let me know if you really like it. I love hearing that. And if you have any feedback for me, you can personally email me at dan@brain.fm.
Awesome. And not only the 5 free sessions, but you actually have a special offer just for my audience as well.
Yeah, totally. So anyone that's hearing this, if they go in and they type in your name and the coupon code, they'll receive 20% off for their first year of Brain FM.
Cool. So that's my whole name altogether, NICOLEHOLLAND for the coupon code. And yeah, try it. I am a huge advocate as well. I think it's amazing. And yeah, so I'm excited for what's to come, because that's the thing too, is you guys are always innovating and improving and adding and all of that, right? So you've got I'm guessing a lot on the list that's
We
coming
do.
soon.
We do. We're going to have integration with wearables. We're translating into different kinds of languages because the fun thing about it is it doesn't matter if you speak English or Mandarin or French. It works because we're all human. So we have a lot of different kinds of things, and we're building in generative music too. So when you use it, you'll actually have different songs that's created specifically for you. And those are things that we're eventually, you know, building and growing and going to be always doubling down on. So it's very exciting.
So exciting. Dan, thank you so very much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.